The Spider-Verse is ending, and that means a brand new Spider-Verse adventure. The basic knowledge you need for this is really simple. Spider-Man is Peter Parker, the Spider-Verse is the multiverse concept of there being many spider people across the multiverse, and a new villain is threatening all of it. That's all you need. This story is the Spider-Man 2022 edition written by Dan Slott, the original creator of the Spider-Verse. And you are at Comicstorian, where we make audio dramas of comic books to let you know what exists. Now let's get into it. Walking through the streets of New York, Peter reaches for his phone and answers a call from his new boss, Norman Osborn. "Hey Norman, what's up?" Peter asks, still finding it weird that he works for the recently reformed Norman Osborn, one of his greatest enemies. Norman asks Peter if he can change into Spider-Man and intercept a hijacked delivery truck. "I'll never get used to this," Peter sighs as he heads into a nearby alley. Changing into his new suit, he looks to the spider bot that he now calls his ally. It was nudging his mask. Yeah, I'm going as fast as I can, Bug. Why don't you do me a favor and go ahead? I'll catch up," Peter tells the robot. It doesn't take Bug long to catch up with the swerving truck. The police are not far behind, but Bug attaches itself to the side of the truck and hits it with an electrical charge, shocking the engine and shutting everything in the car down, including the brakes. The hijackers try to swerve, but they are barreling right for a woman who clutches her child. "Hold on to her tight, okay?" Spider-Man calls out as he swings in, grabbing them both and leaping out of the way of the truck, which smashes into the wall. "I thought you called for a lift. Don't tell me I picked up the wrong person," Spider-Man jokes. As the goons get out of the truck, Spider-Man calls out to them, trying to distract them so that the civilians can get away. But everyone just pulls out their phones and start filming. "Really, guys? I'm trying to draw their fire so you can get clear. Kinda defeating the purpose here," Spidey calls out. But one of the kids smiles. "You're Spidey! You got this!" he shouts. Peter smiles underneath the mask. "Kid's got a point," he says as he leaps into the fray. He quickly leaps and twists among the goons, avoiding their gunfire and knocking them all out in seconds. And when he's done, everyone is clapping for him. "Thank you, New York. You're too kind," he says. A quick call to Norman, and Peter is asked to watch over the cargo until security can arrive. So, Spider-Man begins to mingle with the crowd. But he is unaware that someone is watching him through the power of Loomworld.
"Spider, you've become so predictable,"
Shathra says as she watches, turning to her drone, nestling.
"Come, my little weaver, as you once rewove the web of life, reshape my great nest. Open a wide fizz portal to the prime dimension,"
she orders. Nestling nods and begins to weave, allowing Shathra to open her mouth wide and release a swarm of spider wasps on the 616 universe.
"Good! Let my children herald that his time has come to an end, that soon he shall know the final sting of Shathra," she shouts.
Meanwhile, in the Spider Sanctuary, hidden in a secret corner of the Spider-Verse, Anya senses that Shathra is going for the Chosen One in the 616 universe. Madam Web sends an impulse to the 616 totems to protect Peter, but Spider UK decides that they need to send their heavy hitter. Back at the scene of the crime, Peter is continuing to mingle with his public, but he looks up in shock as a black portal opens and a swarm of spider wasps fly forward. He turns, ordering the panicking crowd to run as he frees the hijackers. "I'm not gonna let you get eaten alive. Who do you think I am, the Punisher?" Spidey says when they question him. He reaches out and snags one of the spider wasps and begins to study it. But his thoughts are interrupted as a portal opens next to him. "Great, now what? Frogs? Rivers of blood?" Spidey gasps. But his eyes widen in shock as Morlun steps through. "Hello, Parker." the inheritor says. Spidey doesn't hesitate, leaping in and peppering the totemic vampire with punches. But his blows do nothing, and Morlun simply slaps him away as he tries to explain why he's arrived. Bug leaps forward and attaches itself to Morlun's chest, shocking him, but the inheritor pulls it off and crushes it with his bare hands. As I was saying, Morlun begins, but Spidey webs his mouth and leaps up to punch him again. He rains blow after blow on the inheritor's face until his gloves are torn and his hands are bloody. But Morlun isn't fazed. I am so screwed, Spider-Man gasps. Morlun grabs a hold of him and begins slamming him into the ground before tossing him into a nearby taxi. Morlun hits him again and again until Peter falls. His new suit torn and tattered, blood leaking from several wounds on his face. No suit? Who needs it? Got something better than a suit, Peter gasps as he looks up. Morlun raises his fist again, but he is stopped as webs grab hold of him, and Silk and Miles pull his arms away, holding him steady. Hey, Spidey, Silk calls. Hope you don't mind the assist, bro, Miles shouts. Spider-Man thanks them for the help, but he knows that the three of them can't take Morlun. Jessica Drew is suddenly there, hitting Morlun with a venom shock. You two look after Peter. Let's keep him off the menu, Jessica shouts to the others. Silk and Miles explain that they felt something in their spider sense that brought them here to help as they help Peter to his feet. He groans as a realization dawns on him. Portals? Morlun? Spiders coming together? Ah, crap. We're doing another Spider-Verse again, aren't we? Peter sighs. The spiders leap back into the fight with Morlun, unaware that they are each stung by one of the spider wasps. Suddenly, another portal opens as they continue to fight, and out leaps Noir Spider-Man. Hey, what gives? You crumbs think you could throw this shindig without me? He asks. It looks like Noir is leaping into the fight to help, but actually, he pulls a strange dagger from beneath his coat. Sorry, Peter, but outside this joint, you're all out of friends, he says before grabbing Jessica by the hair and stabbing her in the stomach. Sorry, Drew, you deserved better than this, but that's the Spider-Verse for you, he says. Peter rushes to Jessica's side as Noir pulls the dagger out, but Jessica seems unhurt. But suddenly, she starts to glow as her body begins to unravel. She screams, not knowing what will happen to her son if she never existed. And Peter falls to his knees, holding the webs that were Jessica mere moments before. He's distracted and doesn't see Noir leaping at him with the dagger. But suddenly, Morlun is there, knocking Noir away as he finally pulls the webs from his mouth. If you had given me a chance to speak, I would have told you. The Spider-Verse has fallen, and I have been sent to aid you in a war against a threat even greater than the Inheritors, he shouts. More portals begin to open around Noir as he reveals the mandibles that he now has. Nice mandibles, Pete. Guess we don't have to worry about anyone getting us confused anymore, Spider-Man says. Noir gives them the choice of switching sides or being unraveled, reminding Peter that he doesn't have many friends left. Out of the portal steps a transformed Mayday, Gwen, and Hobie. They're your enemies now, Noir laughs. Meanwhile, in another universe, a much younger, more Tom Hollandish type of Spider-Man swings down to one of Tony Stark's buildings, thanking him for getting Peter into the Worldwide Engineering Brigade. That's great, kid, but according to security footage, you're already in the facility now, and wrecking the place, Tony says over the comms. Peter swings in, not too worried since nothing is setting off his Peter tingle. But he suddenly looks up as hybrid spider-wasp men leap down from the shadows.
One with the hive,
Spider-Man snorts. Back in 616, Morlun is ordering the spiders to attack their hybrid friends, but they refuse. Shut up, Morlun. Maybe they are from another dimension, like a monster dimension, Miles offers. But the monsters attack, forcing the spiders to leap away and defend themselves. Morlun steps forward and grabs Mayday by the throat and lifts her into the air. Morlun! Silk shouts. What? This is how one is supposed to treat the enemy, he tells her. Silk leaps in and knocks Morlun away. If you're gonna fight on our side, you have to do this our way. Understood? She snaps. The rest of the monsters are still attacking, with Noir trying to stab Peter with the totem dagger.
Soon, all shall be Shathra,
the monsters all chant together. Yeah, that's not creepy at all. Can you maybe not do that? Peter asks them. Another portal opens up and Anya steps out. Yeah, we're working on it, she says as she begins to wave her hands and cast mystic spider totem magic that protects the spiders. Spider UK pops her head out of the portal and orders the rest of the spiders to follow her. All of the spiders manage to kick the monsters away and leap through the portal, disappearing from 616. On Loomworld, Shathra bellows with rage.
Where have they gone, Nestling? Show me which Earth they've leapt to, she shouts.
But Nestling can't sense the escaped spider's location.
They are somewhere beyond the multiverse, somewhere we can't see,
Nestling says in surprise, cowering away as Shathra continues to bellow with rage. Meanwhile, on Earth 616 Beta, the spiders have arrived at the Spider Sanctuary. Spider UK explains that Beta seems to be a testing ground for the 616 universe that was never actually connected to the Web of Destiny. Because of this, Shathra and Nestling can't find them. Anya ushers them into a nearby church that has been used in a story before and thus acts as their secret base. I'd like to introduce you to the rest of our team, she says. Inside, they are introduced to Hunter Spider, a Craven who is also a Spider-Man. Spintress, a spider who is basically a Disney princess and decided to introduce everyone else by singing about them. Also, she has a cartoon spider on her shoulder. His name is Webster. The Web Weaver, who is a spider fashion designer named Cooper Cohen. Sun Spider, who requires crutches but is one of the most flexible spiders. Felicia Hardy, who has become a spider and her world's most gifted thief. Peter smacks his head. Singing princesses? And I thought we couldn't get weirder than a talking pig, he sighs. He looks around at the team. I've worked with Sun Spider before. She's actually really good, he says. But he looks up as Madam Web comes down from the stairs. I'm glad you approve. We're trying to pull together the best we can for you, Peter, she says. She gathers the spiders to her, explaining that they are fighting the final battle for the Spider-Verse. That the Hive Queen, known as Shathra, plans to sting all of them to transform them into her drones. There are only a few who can withstand the sting of her wasps. And that leaves her with only one option, the totem dagger that can sever your skein from the great web, like you were never bit. That is what took Jessica Drew from us, and possibly countless more. There is literally no way of knowing. But you, Parker, you can put an end to that, she tells Peter. Peter is confused. You're the great Peter Parker of the Primal Strand, the spider at the center of the web, Spider UK explains. The chosen one who can save us all, before Shathra remakes the entire Spider-Verse in her own dark image, Anya continues. Spider-Man finally gets the picture, but he turns to Morlun, demanding to know why the Inheritor is helping them. If we must do this, so be it, Morlun growls. He explains that he was searching for his family and finally discovered that they were being kept on Loomworld. After ripping the arm off of a strange amalgamated Spider-Boy, he used the portals to arrive on Loomworld. But it was strange and blackened now. He discovered that the totem known as Spider-Man, who had been tasked with guarding the inheritors that had been transformed into babies after the Spider-Geddon event, had been turned into a strange monster. He fought his way to the center of the hive and met Shathra, and he fought against her.
"I wish for payment for all that you have taken from me!"
Morlun shouted as he launched into the fight, but Shathra just laughed.
"Taken from you? You ignorant child! Do you have any idea where you stand?"
Shathra had asked. She beat Morlun easily, declaring that he and the inheritors were nothing but thieves, that the Great Web was never meant for them. But now, after centuries of feasting on spider totems, that was exactly what he was. Defeated, Morlun had no choice but to portal away. But instead, he was pulled out of the Great Web by Anya, Madam Web, and Spider UK. With my sense, I witnessed your ordeal and redirected you here. And because of this, Morlun had joined the totems in their final battle. Morlun and Peter start to argue over what they should do next, with Morlun wishing to assault Shathra head-on. But they are interrupted as Miles begins to scream in pain, his body distorting as he remembers being bitten by one of the spider wasps. Mandibles begin to grow from his mouth as he realizes that Shathra can now see them. And now, she begins to gather her army. And that concludes part 1 of the end of the Spider-Verse here at Comicstorian. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please be sure to give the video a like if you did, leave a comment down below, of course. Subscribe to the channel, click that bell icon, you know the drill. I've been Dan, and I will see you next time with part 2 of Dan Slott's End of the Spider-Verse.